Hey, David, I just wanted to confirm you're recording this one.
Yep, it's recording right now. You can see.
All right, looks like we're at 25, 26. It's very exciting. People are joining. We had like close to 90 signups, so hoping that more people trickle in. But we also have some friends joining us from Europe, so they're going to watch the recording of this. For those that missed it, or if you see people in the Slack that came late, feel free to send them this. All right, here we go. We did it. Hey, all right.
All right,
Thank you for your
everybody.
patience.
My name is Beckett Muffson, and I am very, very honored to welcome all of you to the first ever Infodemic Challenge Spotlight ATL. Thank you so much for agreeing to spend your time and your talent with us, helping to solve what we think is the most proximate crisis in our living history. And we're really, really grateful to each and every one of you for being here with us. This is something that we've spent hours and days and weeks putting together for all of you. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce the other collaborators who helped make this whole event possible. Over at Bridget, we've got David Benjamin. Say hi, David.
Hello, everybody.
Great. And then I'd like to introduce the founder of the auxiliary. David is the CEO of Bridget, and I am a founding partner for the auxiliary. And this is our founder, Imran Hafiz, and I will let him take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Beckett. Thank you, David. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Why are we here? What kind of Zoom call is this? I think it's a weird one. It feels like we're in a waking dream. COVID has already killed more Americans than the Vietnam War. Almost 1.5 million Americans have confirmed cases. Almost 90,000 have died. Globally, COVID has killed over 300,000 people. Humanity is literally in crisis. It's a scary moment. And in moments like these, I turn to art and culture to give me a moment of solace. So before we really dive into the details, I just wanted to read a poem by Clint Smith called "When People Say We Have Made It Through Worse Before." All I hear is the wind slapping against the gravestones of those who did not make it, those who did not survive to see the confetti fall from the sky, those who did not live to watch the parade roll down the street. I have grown accustomed to a lifetime of aphorisms meant to assuage my fears, pithy sayings meant to convey that everything ends up fine in the end. There is no solace in rearranging language to make a different word tell the same lie. Sometimes the moral arc of the universe does not bend in a direction that will comfort us. Sometimes it bends in ways we don't expect, and there are people who fall off in the process. Please, dear reader, do not say I am hopeless. I believe there is a better future to fight for. I simply accept the possibility that I may not live to see it. I have grown weary of telling myself lies that I might one day begin to believe. We are not all left standing after the war has ended. Some of us have become ghosts by the time the dust has settled. If you are on this call, it is because you have taken a leap of faith into an abyss of despair. If you are on this call, it is because you believe in a better future for our country and for the world. If you are on this call, it is because you want to fight an unseeable enemy with the skills you've spent your life honing. If you are on this call, it is because you know that our lack of communication across disciplines has prevented our creativity from spreading hope amidst fear. If you are on this call, it is because you dream that by working together, we can change the world. Our government is focused on the bigger picture of restoring the economy. Our medical community is focused on treatment and cures. And it seems like there isn't anyone left to connect the dots between the good information and the people who need it. The Director General of the World Health Organization, the WHO, has called this problem the infodemic. This is the problem behind the problem of COVID. The less people know about COVID, the faster it spreads, and the more lives it robs from us. We believe that our creativity, our innovation, collaboration, and community can make a difference. Welcome to the Infodemic Challenge Spotlight Atlanta. So what is this? This is a 2-weekend-long sprint where a group of unlikely heroes, aka you, will concept and create products, messaging, and campaigns to combat the infodemic with verified information from sources like the CDC and the WHO. This is the world's second hackathon designed explicitly to combat the infodemic, and we're the people who made the first. This approach is laser focused on solving problems unique to Georgia. Why Georgia? We decided to focus our efforts around Georgia because it was the first state we heard that was relaxing social distancing early, amidst mass confusion. The CDC is saying one thing, the president is saying something else, the governor is saying something else, the mayors are saying something else, and everyday Georgians are caught in the crossfire of bad information. We knew that our communities put together could make a difference, and the help of volunteers like you could make a difference in order to create new ways to message people and to spread good information in Georgia that are focused on problems that people there are facing. On this call are many people from Georgia, but there's two in particular that we're very excited to hear from, Cornelius Bankston and Dr. William Miles. Actually, where is Dr. William? Is he here? Dr. Miles, if you're here, can you give us a shout, please? Can you make sure anybody?
He gets it.
All right. Well, we're going to hear from them in a second, but Cornelius was on a call with blackdoctors.org the other night, the night before last, and was raising some really amazing points about what's going on in Georgia. And these are challenges that we can help to solve. For example, 80% of the state's COVID-19 hospitalizations are Black, yet the average clinical trial subject is a middle-aged white man. How can we use creativity to properly message correct information about clinical trials to this population, especially given the history of racial inequality in testing, like the infamous Tuskegee experiment or the story of Henrietta Lacks? How can we help families understand transmission and stay up to date on medical information? How can we empower employers to stay compliant with the medical guidelines that are confusing, expensive, and quick to change? How can we get spiritual leaders to understand the scale of this challenge and how powerful their voices can be in protecting their communities? How can we inspire and empower college students to combat misinformation in their social networks? All of these questions and more are the things that this Infodemic Hackathon was designed to grapple with. And this is not a normal hackathon. There is no winner. If you're here, you're a winner because you have committed to doing what you do in a way that saves lives. And best of all, you're going to be guided to success by expert mentors who collectively represent decades of experience from companies and institutions like Microsoft, Johns Hopkins, Stanford, Droga 5, Vice Media, Facebook, and the United States State Department. We're not affiliated officially with any of these people, any of these institutions, but individuals that have this kind of experience are putting themselves forward to guide us as we develop solutions. And we're very grateful to have them. So thank you very much to our mentors, some of whom are on this call. And of course, there's you. You represent technologists, creatives, designers, strategists, data scientists, medical doctors, community organizers and activists, and of course, artists, poets, painters, rappers, we hope. So we'll see, who's here. I can't wait to actually meet you. And first, let me just give you a little context about myself. This hackathon was organized by an organizing group of a handful of people whom you'll meet. We have to give very special thanks to David Benjamin, the founder of Bridget.io, Beckett Muffson, my COO, best friend, quarantine roommate, and coworker. We've had some wonderful volunteers like Ashley Lake, who's our chief facilitator, whom you'll meet in a second here. Stephanie Belos, who helped organize this, and Leslie Eubanks, who helped organize this. And Beckett is going to just quickly explain a little bit about the auxiliary, who we are and what we do. David is going to talk a little bit about Bridget. And then we're going to start to get into the meat of how this hackathon is going to function and making sure that everyone that is on this call has the right sorts of tools to be able to effectively make a difference and hopefully save some lives.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Beckett again. And I just wanted to say first, thank you so much to Imran. It's so strange being roommates and best friends with your boss. And we've gone through a lot to deliver the experience that you're about to have over the next few weeks. But I'm also just incredibly grateful to him and to David for everything that we've learned together throughout the last few weeks. It's really been a life-changing experience for us, and I think it's going to be a life-changing experience for all of you as well. So I want to say a few words about the auxiliary. The auxiliary started because of a young man named Brady Sluter. You might have seen him shirtless, a bro who told the Associated Press, "Hey, if I got corona, I got corona. Nothing's going to stop me from partying," in a video that went viral. Millions of people saw that video and laughed and thought, wow, what an idiot. But Imran saw that video and thought, wow, this is a failure of our information distribution system. This is a failure of the country, not of one person. And somebody has to fix that. That system has produced millions of Brady Sluters all across America. Shortly after that video, we were on a call with mutual aid workers from all over the country. And they told us that this virus, the coronavirus, was unlike anything that they had ever seen. This was back in March. And they said, like, these are the people who went into New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina and Port-au-Prince after the hurricanes in the earthquakes in Haiti. And they've saved lives in all of those places. But when they put their skills into this crisis, they were flabbergasted. The things that they would normally do to help save lives, delivering aid to people who need it, would actually make this problem worse, would spread the disease even farther, perhaps without their knowledge. The only thing that they could think of to actually help reduce casualties from the coronavirus would be telling people to stay home, telling people to wear safety equipment when they're going out, essentially a communication problem. But that's not their job. The medical community is great at saving lives, but for the vast majority of them, mass communication is not their expertise. For people like me, people like Imran, people like many of you who have joined us in the audience, this is our job. Persuasion on a mass scale is what we do. And we've seen that this is the problem that needs to be solved and that we have the tools to help. And it would be a disgrace not to do everything that we could to solve this problem for the people who need it. That's what the auxiliary is all about. We've left our jobs. We've dropped everything that we're doing. We've worked in order to organize creatives, create campaigns, and fight misinformation, the misinformation that's responsible for the millions of Brady Sluters all over the country that you see protesting in front of government buildings that they want the economy to open back up, posting on the internet that 5G caused the coronavirus and turmeric cures it. It's frightening, but we have hope. You might have seen that Brady Sluter issued a public apology for his behavior. It was in the New York Times. He admitted publicly that he was wrong and he changed his behavior accordingly. This is a huge feat for any human being. But we hope that each and every project that comes out of this hackathon will recreate that miracle over and over again in all the people who need to hear it. And that is what this hackathon and our company is all about. So thank you for joining us in this mission. And I will now pass it over to David, who can tell you a little bit about the incredible work that Bridget.io is doing. And I think you'll see why we partnered with them.
All right. Well, thanks, Beckett and Imran. Really happy to be here with you all. I'm David Benjamin, CEO of Bridget, and Bridget is an interesting company. We're focused on doing something that people don't really think that much about. You ever think about putting your heads together with someone, like that's the way to come to a solution? Well, Bridget is focusing on in getting the entire planet to be able to put their heads together. So planetary cognition is what we're thinking about. How do we make it so that everybody can think and learn together? And we're gonna focus on that, but in the context of COVID-19. And what does that look like? Well, we think it's really important that we create a knowledge base that is what we call a collective learning map. And it's really this notion that we can connect all the information into a map that then allows us to discern what's real and what's not, and really see the relationships between data. So you can imagine the possibility of connecting a paragraph about some aspect of COVID-19 to a segment of a video that actually contradicts that, or an image to a for example, a segment of a podcast that supports it. And if you add up all those different connections of information, and it becomes really like a COVID-19 map. And this map becomes extremely valuable. So this is what we're really focused on, is creating what we're calling the collective learning map, giving people tools that will allow them to access it so that they can make better sense out of the world. So I'm gonna just end it right there and pass it
Wonderful.
back.
David, it's a really brave dream, and I can't wait to see you succeed. Thank you very much for sharing that. So we're going to just quickly talk about how this is all coming together. But before we do, I was hoping to give two very special friends, which I had mentioned, Cornelius and Dr. Miles, a chance to give their thoughts on why this type of thinking might be helpful for the people of Georgia at this time. Cornelius, would you mind giving us a couple minutes?
Sure. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for organizing this event. It's kind of interesting, right? So being here in Atlanta and kind of like ground zero with all of this, because the CDC is headquartered here in Atlanta, right? Did you all know that? And then we got all this mass confusion of how do you disseminate information from an institution that's just down the street? And how do you find compliance with that information that is being disseminated? But the thing that you all are seeing that people that don't live here is we have information that's coming from the governor that's saying you can open up the economy here, with barbershops and massage parlors and gyms. That was the first. And then you have the mayor, who I love dearly, and she's like, no, stay at home. And then you have information from the CDC that's right down the street in the DeKalb County area, Atlanta area, that's giving us guidelines that the entire country is abiding by. So this type of infodemic is especially needed here in Atlanta, because as you can tell, we have a lot of different people that are sharing information. One thing that I'm seeing here, so I lead an innovation firm, and we focus on the divide. So we really focus on underserved and marginalized communities. And we had a conversation just talking about how do we get information to the people that need it most. And those are usually poor people that don't have access to, maybe sometimes only have the internet access. They usually have it through a flip phone or a phone through Cricket or Metro PCS that might not have very strong capability. So this information dissemination is very complex, because you have a lot of different people with access at different levels. And in some parts of this state, Wi-Fi isn't even very strong. So if you go into the foothills of Georgia that you heard MLK speak about, we can't even get fiber optics up in there. So some people in the foothills in the Blue Ridge Mountain areas can't even get Wi-Fi access. So how do you disseminate information to a very, very diverse state, a very diverse population? Here in Atlanta is like the economic hub for the state of Georgia. It's the home of the civil rights movement. It's the home of trap music. It's the home of, just name it, we're the home of it, right? But all good things. And then you have Savannah and you have the North Park. And so it's a very, very interesting terrain to disseminate information. But when you have different bodies speaking about it, you don't know what to do. And so we were on a Zoom call on a couple of days ago, and we had a salon owner who's very anxious and has a lot of anxiety on how do you fix someone's hair when you have a 30-page document that really doesn't make sense, and she has to be in compliance with it. She's fearful of herself. She's fearful for her clients. She doesn't want to expose them. So as you all can see, this is a very, very complicated situation, especially when the leadership isn't aligned as well. And so how do you disseminate information, the needed information, in a way that people can receive it? So someone in Atlanta, trap music, living over in the southwest side of Atlanta, coupled with someone that might be from my hometown, which is a small rural town with about 10,000 people, how do you disseminate information they can get it, accurate information that could save their lives? That's what's needed. So anyways, that's my soapbox. I really appreciate you all organizing this. I can't wait to see what comes out of it. Thank you.
Me neither, Cornelius. Me neither. Well said. Well said. Thank you so much for that, for those comments. Look, like what we're doing here is really weird. That's what I meant about this being a weird Zoom call. We're brand new. You may have heard of where we used to work, but people haven't heard of us now. And even David and Bridget, they're brand new. Like, we have sprung into action to try and do this. We have no corporate sponsors, nor do we need them. This is an attempt to really create mutual aid, and we've abandoned our previous jobs and obligations so that we could fight back. And nothing is more exciting than seeing so many of your faces. If y'all could turn on your cameras, that would be fantastic. And seeing so many people here that have just committed to come and help.
We've abandoned our jobs, but we haven't abandoned the networks of incredible people that made us good at our jobs. And so I think that you'll find the people that we've gathered together here are really cream of the crop, and the opportunity that we're presenting to you all is the chance to show some of this work to not only each other, but to an incredible jury that we've wrangled. Primarily, like, one of the number one people is Andrew Essex, the founding CEO of Droga5, one of the top ad agencies in the world, and we've got a couple other surprises in the wings for that as well. And I just want to stress to you that this guy right here is at that caliber, is one of the best marketers I've ever met in years living in New York City, and it's a really real privilege for me to spend all the time that I do spend with him. And I'm excited for you all to take an advantage. Just talk to him, see what's going on in his mind, and you'll be surprised every single time by the just level of analysis and expertise and information that comes out.
You got to stop. It's too much.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to have to Venmo him for that. Wow. We've got time for a couple more comments from one of our partners, Dr. Miles. I just met Dr. Miles today. Just called Dr. Miles today, and I believe he's here. Dr. Miles?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. Could you give a couple comments from your perspective on some of the briefs that we're going to get into and why they might be of importance for the people in your community? Tell us a little bit about who you are and how what we're doing might be helpful.
Absolutely, man. Again, thank you so very much for this opportunity just to be a part of this. Again, my name is William Miles, born and raised in Meridian, Mississippi. I'm the CEO of the Albany and Lee County Housing Authority in Albany, Georgia. I started my career in Meridian, Mississippi as the Director of Community and Supportive Services at the Meridian Housing Authority. Later migrated north to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I was Executive Vice President of Community Operations and Resident Development at the Philadelphia Housing Authority. And then I migrated back south to my current position here. But one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I've worked in public housing about 15 years, but I lived in public housing 20 years. So I've actually lived in it longer than I've worked in it. So I bring a unique perspective to the workplace as it relates to this. And I'm gonna just be honest with you, man, just from a resident perspective, from the perspective of running this organization and being in the trenches, what you guys are doing are so very important, because the people that I reach, the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis are the most vulnerable people. I provide services to about 2,500 to 3,000 people, low-income residents in both Albany, Georgia and Leesburg, Georgia. And they don't have access. I mean, if we just think about not having access for a moment, that's scary. And when I say not having access, I'm talking about to some of the basic things that we look at, as I believe the gentleman spoke about earlier in terms of internet. Forget about internet. We're talking about just basic cable. We're talking about just basic modes of information people don't have access to. And it becomes scary to me, because now I'm having to navigate this process, trying to assist people without mechanisms in place to communicate with them. And it's scary. I shared a story earlier when I guess if anyone has been keeping up with the news, that the pandemic has really hit Albany, Georgia extremely hard. And I have a particular building that roughly has about 100 seniors. It's a high-rise tower. It has about 100, a little bit more over 100 senior and disabled residents. And I know if one person contract that virus, it will spread like wildfire. So I immediately kind of sprung into action, because I did. Even as a leader, I panicked a little bit, because I'm not a medical professional. You know, I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to my city officials. I reached out to the local Department of Public Health. I reached out to HUD, our regional. I reached out to our fire chief. I reached out to the directors at Phoebe Memorial Hospital. I reached out to every individual I possibly could think of that could provide me with some type of guidance with this thing. And little did I know I would be met with the answer of, I'm sorry, Mr. Miles, you got to come up with your own plan. And so I'm sitting here like, how am I going to provide information to these residents, keep them safe, do the right thing according to their health statuses? And I'm not a medical professional. I don't know what to do. But I was literally left on my own to come up with a plan to help mitigate the situation, to help provide calm and a sense of rationale for the people that I service. And when I tell you that was a scary situation, that was extremely scary, because I'm just in the business of providing housing, not medical assistance. But what we end up doing was putting together a COVID-19 task force in which we call those individuals twice a week. We check their medical statuses. We begin to clean the building. We shut the building off to the community. We had everybody to quarantine at least 14 days, whether you had it or not, because we just didn't know. Testing wasn't available at the time. And so then I had to keep beating down doors and until I can get PPE for my staff, because we didn't even have that. And forget about having PPEs. We didn't even know what a PPE was. So we are literally just winging it, you know? And so with no assistance, with any guidance, we just had to do what came natural, and we had to do some common sense things. And luckily, we did towards the end of this thing. We were able to locate some PPE for our staff members. We was able to set up our particular building as a testing site for those residents. We was able to link them with different resources. We had a mobile grocery store to actually come to the site, so our seniors didn't have to get out and go grocery shopping, but they could shelter in place and literally just come downstairs and do their shopping. We had people, we personally went to the post office to pick up their mail and then hand delivered it to them, because literally our post office service postmaster did not want to come to the building. They got the mail and just literally threw it at the front door and just left it. So people, medications, their checks, their important medical records, everything was literally left outside of the door because people were so afraid that, hey, I'm not going into that building. I don't know what's going on. And so because there was no education on it, because there was little to no information, everybody was left to figure it out. That's very scary when you're talking about people with lack of resources, low income. The education attainment level is literally, we're talking about maybe high school at the most. High school at the most. We're literally here to be the end all be all for these residents. And that was a huge responsibility for me. So I'm here to tell you what we talked about earlier, having these think tanks, having these innovators at the table with different perspectives. That's what we need. We need a holistic approach. The things that we talked about earlier, and I wanted to share with you, and it's just, a lot of times we think about it at an executive level, and we refuse to come to the grassroots level. And we miss the boat. We miss it every time, because what's comfortable and logical to me is not comfortable and logical to the people that need our services. You know, people in public housing, and I can speak on, because again, I lived it 20 years. We learn how to survive. We begin to survive. We think about day to day. We don't think down the road. We don't have a lot of time long-term goals, because it seems so far in between, because of the lack of access. And now what I'm encouraged about this particular group, now we're bringing some thinkers to the table. We're bringing some ideas to the table and say, you know what? Those people are worth it. They deserve our time. They deserve our efforts. And that makes me feel so good, because somebody felt that way about me. And that's what allowed me to be where I am today. And some of the things that we're going to be implementing, it's going to be learned behaviors. But in order to get those new learned behaviors, that means we're going to have to change our way of thinking and how we used to move. But I want everybody that's on this call today to understand that change happens at the speed of trust. We have to get people to trust us before they'll be able to change and hear our ideology and the things that we need to move forward with. A lot of reason why we have some breakdown in the communication, we're not trusting the people that's giving us the information. So I'm not going to go and put on the mask, because the same guy that's telling me to put on the mask is the same guy that told me to just drink Lysol and maybe that'll get rid of the problem. Something is not adding up here. So I can't believe what you're doing, so I can't change my behavior. If we can put a group together that I can believe in, that I can trust, now I can begin to change. And I think that's what's beginning to happen here. We got some people that's believing in people. And so now I can trust you, and now I'm willing to change.
Wow. Dr. Miles, unbelievably important comments. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Please just keep yourself muted, but let's give Dr. Miles a hand. So this is exactly what we're here to solve, right? The speed change happens at the speed of trust. You can't just say stay indoors and make a big, proclamation by the CDC. Well, what is the CDC? I mean, some of us don't even know, so we need to actually create messaging that speaks the language of the people that it's trying to speak, to talk to. We need to create technological solutions using data science and make websites that the end user can actually navigate without needing some fancy letters after their name. This is the kind of thinking that we are trying to promote and bring networks of different people to come together to think about. So now let's just get to brass tacks. I'm just going to drop a logistics Google Doc into the chat here. And everyone, if you want to go ahead and check that out, I hope you've read it. It has links on how to come to our Slack. If you have Slack, now is the time to polish off that Slack. Go ahead and find the link to join our Infodemic Challenge Spotlight Atlanta Slack in this Google Doc. And we're going to try to use a new tool to enable our video chatting called Tandem. and Tandem is linked to Slack. So it's not scary. I mean, we've all had to adjust to new realities, but Tandem is going to be a way that essentially allows you to have what you might consider to be like an office environment. Think of it like an office. There's different rooms, and based on what room you're in, you can talk to the people in that room, and you'll notice that the screens are a little bit smaller. Something that's weird about Zoom is that, we never actually talk to people we know and just kind of like look right into their eyeballs. How often do you do that when you're talking to someone you know? I mean, you're probably sitting on a couch looking at a wall together. I mean, that's how we communicate. So Tandem is an attempt to reduce the size of that video and make it seem more like people are working and sitting around a table. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just give you a quick indication of how that Tandem looks. So I have already installed it. The steps are very clear. In order to install it, you've got to follow them in a very particular order. And one thing to keep in mind, if you happen to be in numerous Slacks, like I am, I'm sure many of you are, make sure that you're authorizing Tandem to access the Infodemic Challenge Spotlight Atlanta Slack. If you follow the links, it should be pretty easy, but if you're having an issue, that's the main issue that we've heard about. And so this is the way it works. Oops. All right, well, that's okay. I have it here. So I can actually click water cooler, and it'll open up this little thing in the bottom that is the water cooler, and I can start my camera. I hope it doesn't mess up the zoom here. And I can see myself there in the water cooler. I can mute myself here, and if I want to screen share, I just click this start screen sharing button, and then I can screen share with everyone else who's in that water cooler room. You'll notice as you join the Tandem, sorry, excuse me. That there's a bunch of different rooms listed. So there's team 1, team 2, those are empty. That's just an indication of where you should be having your conversations as you find your teams. And Beckett has gone ahead and put together some thought starters for our mixer that we're about to head into, and hopefully that'll be fun. You can't be there if you're not on the Tandem, so please follow the links in this Google Doc in order to understand what's happening in this challenge. It should answer most of your questions. Go ahead and get on the Slack. Introduce yourself here in the Slack in the introductions channel. Go ahead and tell us who you are. I noticed many of you already have. That's wonderful. So the stragglers, please go ahead and introduce yourself here. And if anyone has a question, I wanted to just quickly introduce Ashley Lake, our chief facilitator. Ashley has made our website. She has been a huge part of the auxiliary, and she's also made a special little gift for every one of you that she can maybe talk a little bit about. Go ahead, take it away, Ashley.
Okay, do you still want me to talk a little about Run of Show?
Yeah, why don't you tell us about the Run of Show, but before that, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about that beautiful little Zoom background you got.
Oh, I just muted myself. So please excuse if there's any outside noise and you can't hear me. There's people on my roof. I am in New York City at the moment, but as you can see, my background is beautiful Atlanta. So if you guys all go to the social media assets throughout the next 2 weeks, there'll be a bunch of stuff you can post and share if you feel the need to. We'd love for you to share what you're working on, as well as, pass along the good word about what we're doing. This is open to many people. As you can tell, my little screen says I'm a facilitator, which means when you guys have a question, you can contact me on Slack. You can contact me on Tandem. I believe my email is on my Slack info. You can even email me. No matter what time of day it is, you can get a hold of me and I can troubleshoot your problems, as well as will be available throughout normal hours. Emron, Beckett, as well as David and my friend, personal friend, and also another member of the auxiliary, Stephanie Bilos, who I believe is not on this call right now, but she will be available throughout the next 2 weeks. With that being said, if anyone has any questions, there's a frequently asked question channel in the Slack group. If you're not familiar with Slack, some of your faces are familiar because you're having issues with Tandem, just let me know. Like I said before. So Run of Show, you can find in multiple places. You can find it briefly on our website. I'm just gonna run you guys through it super quick on a not so high level. There's a document that accompanies this that if you guys like, I can definitely post somewhere for you guys to view. But most importantly, tonight is all about having a little fun, getting to know each other, and deciding who is going to be the members of your group. So those channels that Emron was showing you and talking about, you're gonna wanna dip into those in Slack or Tandem and have conversations with those folks and maybe move between group to group. And at the end of the night, have decided who are the members of your group. Then on Saturday, we are going to be presenting briefs. There will be a group of briefs that you and your team will review and have to pick one. If 2 teams pick the same brief, that happens. If everyone picks the same brief, I'd be shocked, but it could happen. So once you pick your brief, you're going to write an empathy map. If any of this sounds confusing right now, just bear with me. I promise you by tomorrow, it will start to make sense. You're gonna write out your empathy map, which is going to steer you into making your business Canva using Miro. That is gonna be due Sunday morning. And that is gonna be what happens through now up until Sunday morning. Correct me if I'm wrong. So by the end, so Sunday is going to be also a day where you work on your strategy kernel. You're going to try to start to build something that can be put out in the universe and tested. So essentially you want to, by the end of Sunday, have some form of a paragraph describing what you're doing, maybe a small keynote, a mock-up, a prototype. You need to be in the direction of knowing where you're going for next week. Now, throughout the week, you can still use our resources and me specifically, as well as reach out to any of the other facilitators. And you're going to be prototyping, which means you're going to be putting it out there into the universe and seeing what you get back. That's going to inform the following weekend, where you put the prototype, sorry guys, I had to write this out, I'm not going to lie. The prototype in front of people who would be potential customers, users, and audience, which was all during the week. And then Friday is an optional work day for your group. I highly encourage you guys all touch base and stay in connection through Slack and Tandem, exchange phone numbers. If any of the apps crash, like I've done a ton of virtual hackathons, just go to Zoom. Don't try to fix Tandem. Don't waste your time. But Friday is an optional work day, encouraged but not mandatory. Saturday, there's no programming to say, in the sense that there won't be like anything that is technically due, but you will be able to work and have access to your mentors and facilitators throughout all day Saturday. Sunday, mentors will be available as well. And there'll be a sign-up sheet for mentors. So if any of this is like, how do I get a mentor? Who are the mentors? What are mentors? Don't worry about it. We got that taken care of. But your team is gonna wanna sign up for slots. And if you have outstanding questions before you meet with your mentors, I highly recommend reaching out to a facilitator, and we are gonna help you clear up any confusion. So when you do have that time with your mentor, you can know what your questions are, know where you want to go directionally with the conversation, and really take advantage of those mentors. They're experts in their fields and they're really amazing people. Then there is Sunday night, which is prime time demo day, where we all get back on Zoom. Highly encourage you guys to download these awesome VR backgrounds. If you have any problems with it, the directions are in the social media asset channel. And you guys are gonna get to have the opportunity to have 10 minutes roughly, don't quote me, to present your finished product. And with that, I shall mute myself.
Wonderful. Ashley, thank you so much for taking us so beautifully through that run of show. All of this information is in the logistics document, and we have it, so don't worry if it's a bit confusing. The reason why we want you to use those FAQs is because if you have a question, chances are someone else has a question. So, your question, if we can reply to it publicly, then we don't have to be fielding every single question. Although if something is sensitive, again, we're available for if you want to DM us in Slack. I will note that Ashley spoke a little bit about the mentors. So I'm sure you may have seen some of the mentors that have signed up on our site. We have had some new mentors join us that may not be on the site. For those that are not, apologies. We'll get there. But I'm just going to share my screen quickly so that we can walk through how the mentor signups work. Because after the mixer tonight, we're not going to be. This is the last thing that's happening that is a Zoom call involving everyone until the demo day presentation itself. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to show you what that looks like. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully you guys can see it. So this is what we've done in order to organize the mentor signups. This mentor schedules and signups is the name of the Google Sheet. Please save it. You will be referring to it over the course of this weekend and the next weekend. We borrowed this from some friends of ours called strategist.co. If you're a strategist or marketer, I highly recommend checking them out. They're really smart, but basically all the instructions are written on this first page in introduction. And all you have to do is you just, if you're a mentor and you haven't yet set up your mentor page, you just right-click, duplicate, and make a new sheet with your name and fill it out. I see Joshua Arma is here. So I'm going to go ahead and just have a peek at Josh's. Or instead, I'm going to have a peek at Shahid's. Okay, wonderful. So Shahid is also here. So you can see, okay, this is the mentor. Shahid Amanullah, what is he up to? Managing Director of Frost Capital. What are the things that he's good at? Product design and development, marketing and branding. You can check out his LinkedIn and see what what he has done. And basically, you'll have a date here, and then there are times here. Now, all of these times are in EST. And for those of you watching on the asynchronous European live stream, please be advised these are all EST times, unless otherwise noted. Please try and keep to EST if possible, just to avoid confusion. And so let's say Beckett and me are a team. We're called Team Auxiliary. So all we would do is, if we wanted to chat with Shahid at 2 o'clock EST, we would just say auxiliary. And then we'd put one of our emails just in case Tandem isn't working. And that way, Shahid knows that he's got to be available at 2 o'clock, and we know that we have signed up for 2 o'clock. So this is what all the teams are going to do in order to sign up for a time slot for all of the mentors. And check it out, y'all. We've got some really incredible people here that are all here to help you think through the scale of this challenge. So once you've created your team, go ahead and sign up for some time slots with those folks, and be sure to do it as soon as you think you might be working on something they can help with, because that'll get you on their docket quickly. So with that said, we've just got 2 minutes left. I think, oh, there was something else I wanted to note. Look, what we're doing, it isn't not political in that we seek to make like an impact in the world, but it's got to be bipartisan. The enemy we're fighting here is misinformation. The enemy we're fighting here is COVID. And our solutions have got to reach people that may not believe what you personally believe. So whatever it is that about the way in which we talk and about the way in which our solutions are activated, let's be sure to remember that we've got to design solutions with our audience in mind, and make sure that we're all here basically to try and save lives, and not to propose a particular political idea of what should happen. And of course, if anyone has any issues with anybody on their team, please try and communicate effectively. It's really easy, as the organizers know. It's very easy for miscommunications to happen in this. We're working with people across different time zones, all on the internet. So please have a generosity of spirit and a patience with your teammates and coworkers, and of course with us. And as we get through this, we're about to start our mixer, but before we do, please look out for the briefs. They're going to be a document full of briefs. These are going to be interesting, creative challenges. Dr. Miles, do you want to just quickly speak to your reaction to the briefs when we went through them today?
Sure. I think for me, they were spot on for my organization. I mean, I think the questions was extremely relevant, extremely on point, because again, I mean, the targeted areas in which the questioning aligned to is very instrumental, especially for those service providers and those other organizations that looking to make an impact and looking to continue to move forward post-COVID. Even during this situation now, we need to try to figure out how do we make life easier for them. These questions address those issues. It addresses some of the real hardline issues that a lot of times go overlooked, but it is so extremely necessary. And I was very, very pleased at the question that was formulated. So I guarantee you, I believe if we come together as a think tank and really focus on those questions, I think we'll hit the nail on the head with it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miles. I really appreciate it. We spent a lot of time working on this stuff, and we can't wait for you to see those challenges. But tonight is for fun. I don't know if about y'all, but it's been a minute since we had a party. So meet some strangers, make some friends. Beckett's going to quickly walk you through what that looks like. That might start around like 8:15 if it takes y'all a second to get your tandem running. But I'm quickly just going to share my screen so that you can see the tandem. And we will see you on tandem after this call ends in some of these rooms. Beckett, take it away.
Yep. So as Imran mentioned earlier, Tandem is an app that sort of attempts to recreate the low pressure communication that you get when you're sharing a physical space with each other. It's not in your face. It is in the corner. It's sort of as if somebody is peeking over at you from across the monitor from the desk over. And so that's part of the reason that we want to use it. It's got some really powerful tools for collaboration. The screen sharing is much better than Zoom, which is one of the primary reasons that we've selected it. So once you guys all get in there, share your screens, play around with it. There's some fun features using emojis that I'm excited for you to discover. So really take tonight to explore Tandem, though I will note that when you drop in there, I highly recommend closing out of any non-essential apps. Close all your tabs in Chrome. If you've got any Adobe products, Adobe plus Tandem is a bit more than the average MacBook can handle. So treat your MacBook with respect and give Tandem the space that it needs to run and give you that sort of collaboration that we think is really vital to the sort of creative work that we're making space for here. So if you have trouble figuring it out, we have a whole channel in there called Help Needed. You can pop in. If we see anyone in there, we'll pop in and answer any questions. But as Ashley very rightly emphasized, the majority of that should go into the FAQ channel within our Slack. So we'll be monitoring all of that as well. I've created several special topic-based channels within the Tandem, which will only exist for tonight. Imran is sharing a screen right now, but you can see there's one. If you've got somebody who you're really excited about their artistic work, or somebody who's been a mentor to you, Share Your Hero is a channel that you could pop in and hear about who's inspiring other people, and you can talk about who inspires you. If you've got an album that changed your life that you would like to talk about and hear from other people about the music that they like, then album that changed your life. If you're a productivity nut or an optimization hacker, your favorite office gadget, Imran has a very, very clever mouse that he uses often, and swears by, and then of course we've got our conspiracy theories channel. We're connoisseurs of this alternative way of thinking because we have to be aware of what we're working with when we're making these information challenges. So I will see you in conspiracy theories for sure, and I'll also probably see you in the kitchen, the area where you go when you're sort of not sure where else to go, because that's what seems to be the most well lit area at the party. This is all our fun attempt to create some of the spontaneity that would happen at an IRL networking event or party, and we hope you enjoy that.
And your objective, apart from having fun and maybe blowing off a little steam, is just to introduce yourself to a couple of people and meet people, find out what their skill set is, and see if they're interested in joining a team with you.
Yeah.
And really what you're looking for in a team, they can be as small as 2 people, they can be as big as 8 people. Whatever you work with works, and anyone who doesn't find a team by the end of this process, go to Help Needed, and there will be other people that are looking for a team. The last hackathon we ran, the people who didn't find a team, we had to put them all in a team. That's the team that blew us away the most. That's the team that won. Although we don't have judging in this particular hackathon. But regardless, bring a friend if you need to. I mean, this is a great opportunity tonight to have fun, but also start to look for complementary skill sets.
Yes.
So if you like design, maybe it doesn't make sense to have an entire team of just design folks. Maybe it makes more sense, you'll have a bigger impact collectively if we spread out some of the skill sets to the different teams. Now, this has to be done in a polite way, but please don't take it too personally if someone says like, hey, you know, we've got too many designers already, go and find another team. And if anyone really needs help finding somebody to be on a team with, come and talk to us, and we'll make sure that you get with a team tonight. So
yeah, we highly recommend perusing the introductions channel. Keep an eye out for people who have those skills that you like. If you normally are a copywriter and you are looking for a designer, scope them out, hit them up, and also, you know, run into people in the tandem and see whose vibe you like and ask people about their skill sets there.
Yeah, and I also think if you see other people that are like needing help to get on Tandem or Slack, please, like, let's open up that generosity of spirit and reach out and help. Now, right before we move into the mixer, there's one last thing I want to mention. We're recording this because we have a bunch of friends and colleagues across the world in Europe and Africa that are going to watch this when they wake up, because we have a whole European track that's going to be happening asynchronously, so not at the same time that this stuff is happening. And all of those people are looking to Georgia for leadership, because as Georgia relaxes social distancing, these are some similar challenges that other cities and countries are going to face. And so whatever works out of this, coming out of this 2 weekends, we can abstract and try and replicate in other places and scale up. So this is really the chance and the challenge. We will see you in the FAQ page. We will see you in the tandem. Thank you so much for joining. David has something to say?
Well, do you see these couple questions?
Okay, let's address those questions. Okay. After clicking the link in the Google Docs, it says my invite to Slack can't be verified. Okay.
Actually, Sham Scott, I privately messaged you. If you could please reply to me, I can take care of that.
Wonderful. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and share the invite link here on the Zoom call. So if anyone needs to find that, it's there. If you're having problems with Slack, that might be a Slack issue, and if so, then okay, Zara's gonna look into it.
I'm also gonna update the link in the Slack.
Yeah, and Beckett is also gonna update that link. Any other questions before we head to Tandem? Has everyone downloaded Tandem? Anyone want to? You can go ahead and unmute yourselves at this point if you want to ask any questions, maybe. We're only 8 minutes late. That's not bad.
That's not bad. I will also point out that once you have come up with a team, you know who you want to work with, you can create a channel for yourself in Slack and in Tandem, and name it the name of your team. Like if we were making a team, it would be auxiliary, and that would be the name of our Slack channel and our Tandem channel. So that's how you tell us that you've got a team all sorted up and ready to go.
Abdulaziz? Any other
Wait,
questions?
my connection is. Sorry, just connection is really bad over here. Hi everyone. You can call me Aziz. I'm a journalist and a humanitarian from Yemen, in the Middle East, and I really like what you did. And I attended a couple of hackathons, including virus versus virus, which was a huge success. So I hope I can have an impact, because currently I'm in Malaysia, and I've did like a couple of campaigns, and the lockdown it's almost gone. So and we're going out, but it's very limited when you can't just breathe as you always wanted, like always with a face mask. My glasses are fogging all the time. So do you think for that, would that be feasible to attend the hackathon with you and bring some of my team in?
Yeah, totally. If you've got an existing
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
and
Cool.
you've
Cool.
already
Cool.
working on something, please bring them in. We can take this time to develop, and you can have access
Yeah.
to mentors and resources. However, I will note that this is a infodemic hackathon. So
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
solutions that are about informing people, messaging, challenging the infodemic. We've all seen projects about PPE and donating food and things like this. And some of those might make sense, but we think it's got to be laser focused on solving the informational challenge too.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And Aziz, if
Yes.
you are joining with a team of international folks, and it makes more sense for you to join the European track, say hi to Francesca Tabor. She'll be in the Slack. She's the chief facilitator for the European and EMEA folks that are going ahead and joining. We're very, very glad to have some global representation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I'll need a lot of help in the Slack. I suck at it.
No worries.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Now,
Hey,
now-
you mentioned
yeah.
that. Hey, you mentioned that you had there's a Europe track, but I was wondering, is there also a track for like Asia as well?
We should have. No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
Primarily motivated by the number of people who we had like in our existing community who asked for a European track, and we had several people from Asia in our last hackathon, but I don't think that they were here this time, so we didn't make one. But
Noya,
Okay.
if you want to run and lead our Asia track, we've got it.
You will see.
Perhaps DM
Oh,
us
no.
afterwards.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, without further ado, thank you so much for being here. We made it through this killer Zoom call, hour, 12 minutes late. Not bad. We are going to see you in the Slack. We are going to see you in the tandem. We're going to see you in the mentor meetings. We're going to see your projects and your strategy kernels as you come up with these ideas. Pay attention to the general and announcement tabs of the Slack, where you're going to see what David, myself, Beckett, Stephanie, Ashley, Francesca, we're going to see these people post like important updates about what needs to be done today, how you're going to go about doing it. And we can't wait to see your projects. We cannot wait to meet you. We've been planning this for weeks. It's finally here. We will see you in the tandem. Thank you so much for joining. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here, and perhaps grab a drink before heading into the party tonight, if that is something you do. No pressure. All right. Thank you.
bye everyone.
Bye. See you in tandem. See you there.